What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time, we're taking a look at The Bride of Frankenstein, the sequel to the 1931 classic. James Wells returns behind the director's chair. Boris Karloff returns as the monster. Colin Clive returns as Henry Frankenstein. Plus, we get the additions of Elsa Lancaster and Ernest Thesiger as the titular bride, and as a new character named Dr. Pretorius. Now, the overall premise of this movie is this: Dr. Pretorius, played by Ernest Thesiger, pretty much forces Henry Frankenstein, played by Colin Clive, to create a female companion for Frankenstein's original monster. That's the overall basic premise of this movie. But how does this movie stand on its own? I think The Bride of Frankenstein is a fantastic movie. This is a sequel that truly stands in tow with its predecessor. This movie is better than the original Frankenstein movie. And that's saying a lot because I really like the original Frankenstein movie, but the sequel is that much better because I like the direction they go in this movie, and I just like what they do with the monster in general. Boris Karloff in Bride of Frankenstein brings his A game when it comes to the sequel. The monster in this movie gets much more dimension and he gets much more depth because in this movie the monster learns to control his emotions. He learns to talk. There is this fantastic segment of the movie where the monster meets this blind man and forms a real friendship and bond with this blind man. And it's this blind man who teaches the monster, how to talk, teaches the monster how to express emotions. And Carl Loss' performance is just utterly fantastic. I like how first, the monster just says words like friend, good, fire, bad. But as the movie progresses, he's able to form some sentences and actually have some conversations. And like I said, Carl Loft's performance is utterly fantastic. He kills it as the monster in this movie. I think his performance is 10 times better in this as it was in the first. And his performance in that first movie was fantastic. But in this one, he gets to show more range and give the monster more of a heart and more of depth. Now, Colin Clive as Henry Frankenstein. I liked him in the first movie, and I like him in this movie, though I don't think he gets enough screen time, to be honest with you. Valerie Dobson replaces Mae Clark as his wife, Elizabeth, and I think she's a better fit for the role than Mae Clark was. I think she has more of a presence than Mae Clark. She's fine in the role itself, but this movie is not really about is not really about Henry Frankenstein nor Elizabeth. This movie is more about Dr. Pretorius, played by Ernest Thesiger. And Ernest Thesiger, you can tell this man is having a ball playing this character. The character of Pretorius is just this eccentric, over-the-top mad scientist, and Thesiger is completely hamming it up. You can tell this man is enjoying the role. He's enjoying the part. He is having a good time playing the role of the eccentric Dr. Pretorius. And I like how it's a it's a mirror image to Victor, to Henry. I'm sorry. Henry is more of the straight-laced, while Pretorius is this more kooky and eccentric type of guy. And Pretorius is, of course, more of the villain of this piece, since he pretty much forces Henry to make another monster, which they eventually do in like the last 10 minutes of this movie. If I have one gripe, the bride comes in way too late in this movie. I mean, the overall look of the bride, it's iconic. For the 5 minutes of screen time that she has, it's an iconic look with the hair and the face, everything. It's like the Bride of Frankenstein is one of those classic images that just stay in your mind. So the overall look of the bride is fantastic. I would have not have waited till like the last 2 minutes of this movie to finally reveal her. I think the movie took a little way too long with that. But even though I do consider that to be a gripe, this movie is too good because it does a lot of good things. Like I said, the monster gets much more development and starts to become more human in a way when you look at it. Dr. Pretorius is a much better character than Dr. Waldman was in the original Frankenstein movie, mainly because Ernest Thesiger just has this eccentric charisma to him. He just chews the scenery in every scene that he's in. I mean, at first when we see him, he's kind of mysterious looking, and then as the movie progresses, we see that he's just an eccentric madman. He literally created like these little people that he keeps in glass jars, and the special effects at making those things look practical, pretty damn good by 1935 standards. I have to say, it's good stuff. Actually, this whole movie itself is fantastic from an effects standpoint. Once again, like I said, James Whale returns as the director, and Just like the first movie, he directs this movie with technical precision. This is a beautiful looking movie. The cinematography and the imagery in this movie is iconic and stays in your brain. The practical effects and what they were able to do for this time period are outstanding, particularly the end where the castle that where they created the bride is pretty much blown to bits. Great stuff. How what they're able to do with just the technology at that time, and the overall look of the monster is different than how it was in the last movie. Because at the end of the last movie, the Frankenstein monster was thought to be killed when when a windmill was caught on fire by a raging mob. And we see what happened. You know, Frankenstein's hairline is burned off. His clothes are all like tattered up and bruised up. So I like how this movie does pick up where that first movie left off. So we see what's happening. I mean, also Henry's also thought to be dead at the end of that last movie, but he's of course alive in this movie. He's just bedridden for he's just bedridden for his first couple of scenes. But once Pretorius gets in, this movie really starts to pick up steam, and it just does not stop. It just gets interesting and interesting and interesting. And like it says, when it handles its sweet, tender moments, like with the blind man, it's very heartwarming. And when the blind man's cabin is overrun by these two hunters who go to kill the monster, it's really sad also because you feel for Frankenstein's monster. Like he finally made a friend, and it was taken away from him. He finally gets a bride, a woman, a female companion just like him, and the bride rejects him. Frankenstein's monster did not ask to be created, did not ask to be born, but since he's in this world, he wants to live a life in a way. But because of just his appearance, he's forever doomed. And the last few minutes of this movie is utterly fantastic, with the monster pretty much telling Henry, "You live, go," and then he has Pretorius and the bride stay in the castle, and he pulls the lever, pretty much saying that they belong dead. The three of them belong dead. Frankenstein, the bride, and Pretorius. These are people who should not be in this world, and the creature understood that. And that's another reason why this movie is great, because the creature gains some sort of an intelligence. So it's a really well thought out movie. So yeah, as you can tell, The Bride of Frankenstein is a fantastic movie. There's a lot more to cover with this movie, but those are just my old basic thoughts. So yes, The Bride of Frankenstein is a perfect 10. It is definitely on par with the original Frankenstein movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Bride of Frankenstein. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.